the year before 96, I placed 7th, but they moved me up to 6th, I think, because NASA failed the drug test. They were drug testing us back then for diuretics. So in 1997, I'm like, man, if I could just make the top 5, I'll be all good. Well, I got 11th. I got 9th. And I'm like, oh, man, I already did this pity party thing, so that ain't gonna work.
Right.
I ain't gonna quit. So I continue on, and 1998 comes around, and I qualified Miss Olympia again, and went into Canada.
So you just keep going back to Canada?
I keep going back to Canada every year because I know I got a real good chance to win. I don't want it like 4 years in a row. I'm like, okay, I got to go back to Canada again.
So not to cut you off, Ronnie, so you're saying I got 15th place, I've got 11th place, I've got 9th place, I've got 7th place in the Olympia, and I'm totally drug-free.
Well, in 1995, Flex Wheeler was winning all the shows he went to. Actually, it was 1994. He was winning. He won the Arnold Classic.
Yep.
He was on the tour. He was winning all the shows on the tour. And I remember when I was in college, I was always the smartest guy in my class in accounting. But if I wasn't the smartest, I would go study with the smartest guy to, increase my grade.
Okay.
So I'm going to take that same philosophy with Flex. So I went to Flex's room. It was real kind of late at night. And I'm like, Flex, man, I'm tired of getting my butt whooped at all these shows. And I hear you guys are, taking the juice. I had to say something. And he's like, yeah, man, if you want to get up there with the big dogs, you got to do what the big dogs do.
Okay.
So I'm like, well, what do you do? Well, Flex named out a whole bunch of, steroids, drugs that they take. And he said, I got a buddy that can get everything for you. So I'm like, okay. So my first time ever having anything to do with drugs was 1995.
1995.
And that's when I won my first pro show.
Canada Cup.
Canada Cup. And I'm like, okay, I guess Flex was on point.
He was on to something, huh?
Yeah. So after that, I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of getting my butt whooped. I'm just going to do what these guys do.
Right.
But we ran into a little problem along the way, and DA came in, and, they was like, what are you guys doing? What are you taking? So I'm like, well, this is pretty much what I'm doing. He's like, well, we're going to have to confiscate that and, and take everything from you. I'm like, okay. So I went out, and it had these clinics that you can go to and get, steroids legally.
Right.
The only thing, you have to take these blood work.
To get the blood done.
Yeah, so I went to one of those clinics and started doing everything legally, but I had to, take these blood tests, and everything came out pretty much normal, so I was okay. So I was all right now, I could do everything legally. I ain't got to worry about, getting in trouble from doing what I was doing. And from that point on, my career just took off. In 1998, when I went to the Olympia, Flex was the successor.
Yeah.
Everybody said Flex was going to win.
Because there was a stretch there. Lee had taken over. Lee had won 8 straight. Lee retired.
No. It was
Dorian Yates come in 6 straight. So that's 14 years.
Yeah.
They've only had 2 guys to win the O.
Yeah.
Lee Haney, he retires after 8. Dorian Yates wins 6. He retires. Now, Flex is the natural. Everybody's like, hey.
It's all Flex. It's Flex show to lose.
Okay.
And I wasn't nowhere in there because I hadn't got nowhere in the top 5.
Right.
So it was Flex, NASA, Sean, Kevin. So in the 98 Olympia, that's who they was calling out. And I'm like, oh, man, here we go again. I got 9th the year before, and I'm like, if I could only make the top 5, man, I'd be happy and satisfied because I'm really just doing this for, free membership to the gym. I ain't really thinking about winning Olympia, and that never even occurred to me.
Right.
Because like I said, where I'm from, nobody did bodybuilding. We didn't know anything about it.
Correct.
Brian taught me everything I knew about bodybuilding. Well, the only thing was Flex was winning all the shows, and they were had those guys, picked to win, be the successor.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Flex called me on the phone one day and he's like, "Man, who you working with?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm doing my own thing." He's like, "Oh man, I got this guy Chad Nichols. He could, make
Dial
make
you
a,
in.
yeah, he can dial you in and make a difference in your physique." So I called Chad. Chad didn't call me back. So I called Flex again. Flex, this guy's not calling me back, man. You told me to call this guy and he was gonna help me out, and he ain't calling me back. He's like, "No, just keep calling. He'll call you back." So I called him again. Well, this time he called me back, and I hooked up with him. He changed everything I was doing. He changed my diet. I went from eating 5 meals a day to eating 6 meals a day.
Okay.
I went from 10 ounces to 12 ounces of protein with each meal to 16 ounces.
You eating a pound of protein a meal?
I'm eating a pound of protein a meal. And I'm trying everything in my power to stuff this food, and it ain't working. So I'm like, man, he said I gotta eat this food to get big. So I just kept eating and eating. My body finally adjusted to it. I was finally able to, it took about 3-4 months.
Wow.
For my body to adjust 100 grams of protein with each meal. We talking about 100 grams of chicken, steak, turkey. That's all.
Were you eating fish back then?
No, I didn't eat fish.
Okay.
Chad didn't have me on fish, and I didn't really too much care for fish either.
Okay.
Because I'd eat fish and I'd be hungry.
I sure hope you had a lot of fiber in your system. Boy, you gonna be back up there.
He had me on all kind of fiber supplements. And I was going to the bathroom after each meal.
Man, that's
5 times a day.
100 grams of protein?
Yep. And another thing was, I couldn't eat 5 meals. I've worked full-time police department. I'm working working out every day. I'm doing cardio. That's another thing Chad did. He increased my cardio from 1 hour a day to 2 hours a day. And I'm like, oh man, you really doing a number on me here. Right. And I made it work. Right. And like I said, I was finally able to eat those 100 grams of protein. The only thing was I couldn't get the 6 meals in. So Chad was like, "Well, you need to eat this food if you want to get big." He said, "Try waking up in the middle of the night, eating a meal and going back to bed." So that's what I did. I went to bed every night about 4 o'clock. And I would wake up.
4 o'clock in the afternoon?
No, 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock in the morning because you work in the police?
Yeah, I'm working police department. So I would get up at 7, eat a meal, go back to bed at 8.
Okay.
A whole hour. Well, it worked out pretty good. And they caught on, and I was able to do an hour in the morning on the treadmill I had right by my bed.
Mm-hmm.
I get out of bed, jump right on the treadmill.
Was it fasted cardio?
Yep, fasted cardio.
Okay.
So I did that, and when I finished that, I would eat my first meal, go to the gym. I got there about 12:30, almost 1. I only worked out an hour.
Okay.
Each day, 1 hour, maybe hour 15 minutes at the most.
Okay.
I would get home about 2:15, somewhere in there. I would take a shower, get dressed, go to work. I had to be there at 3.
Okay.
I got there at 3, and I would eat my next meal at 3. And we get a 45-minute lunch break. So I'd eat my next meal at that lunch break. And I got off at 11 o'clock every night. So I would come home, eat another meal, take a shower and everything, and sit around, do some email. And I would eat my last meal, which was a protein shake. Mm-hmm. I just drank 100-gram protein and I go to bed, like I said, around about 4 o'clock. And that was my whole day.
Right.
And that was my camp. You know, I didn't go no strip clubs. I didn't go out to no clubs. I didn't go.
You ain't had no time.
I ain't had no time.
People say that, having known you, having been around you, having seen you, people like, well, he could have never been that size had he not taken the supplementation. Maybe not the 285.
Yeah,
but I think you still could have been the 250.
Yeah, for sure, easily. You know, I was almost there in the off season for sure, but it contributed somewhat to it. You know, me getting just a little bit harder and being a little bit bigger on stage for sure. But if you on stage with guys that are doing things that they're doing, you can't compete with them.
You just trying to level the playing
doing the
field.
same thing. Yeah, and what I was doing, like you just said, I'm just trying to level the the field, and that's the way I looked at it for the most part.
Right.
Had it not been that way, I would have never, did what those guys were doing.
Right. Want to join Club SHAY? Become an official member by hitting that subscribe button, where you never know who's going to be joining us for drinks and conversation. Don't be late to the party, because we like to do something before 2 something.